Welcome back to another conversation with Chris. I'm here with Lon today. Lon's hiking the Appalachian Trail. He's doing it for charity for the Ronald McDonald House. So I'm interested to hear a little bit about his experience on the trail and what he's doing it for. How you doing, Lon?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. So yeah, tell me a little bit about your journey. How long you've been on the trail so far? I know you took a couple days off to rest your ankle or your knee. Is that right?
Yeah, my ankles. I started on April 18th and started in Georgia at Springer Mountain and Amicalola Falls and hiked all the way to Harper's Ferry, and I caught a ride. So technically, I'm doing what's called a flip flop, where I caught a ride to Mount Katahdin, climbed that, and then the next day started south on the 100-mile wilderness section of the Appalachian Trail.
Okay, very nice. So how have the conditions been so far?
I enjoyed the South more than I've enjoyed Maine. Maine was muddy and wet and slippery. And I was just telling somebody this morning that when you step in the mud and it sinks up past your ankle or
Oh,
the
wow.
top of your sock, you're kind of wondering whether or not your shoe's going to come out with your foot
Yeah. Is that how
or not.
you got injured?
Yeah, I've fallen a number of times, and it seems like most everybody I've talked to has fallen, but you don't always fall and get injured, but several times I have. And the first day on the 100-mile wilderness, I stepped on a big flat rock that turned out to be slippery. And I stepped with my left foot first and then my right foot, and the right foot just started sliding downhill. It was a big rock, and I kind of did the splits before I twisted my ankle and sat down and slid down the rest of the rock into the mud. It took me 8 days to get out of the 100-mile wilderness and get it checked out, and they said it was sprained. And so that one was healing up pretty good, and had hiked on and gotten out of the 100-mile wilderness and was planning to meet a friend from high school days, which was like 50 years ago, and he was going to hike with me for a couple of days. So I got to our meeting point, hiked out of the trail, and was in a parking lot where I sat on a rock for over an hour waiting. And when I stood up, I didn't realize that my left leg had gone numb. And so I didn't feel anything. And when I took a step on the left leg, it just collapsed and rolled my
Wow.
ankle on my left ankle. So that was the second ankle, and I got it checked out also. And they said I sprained both ligaments on the outside of the ankle, and that I should wear a brace that they gave me for the next 4 weeks. So hiking with the brace, the type that they gave me, it's not very flexible. It's got two plastic pieces on either side that kind of firm up your ankle, but probably not the best for hiking.
Yeah, okay. So you're still kind of recovering. Do you know when you're going to get back out on the trail? How are you feeling?
Pretty good. I've rested it. I'm icing it daily, and I'm thinking to get through the full 4 weeks that they want me to wear the brace would be around the 12th to 20th of August, and get back on at that time. I can make a trip back to Maine and get going. I just want to be full strength when I get to the
Yeah.
Whites of New Hampshire, and be able to tackle those as best I can.
Okay. And where are you now?
I'm actually in North Carolina. We have a cabin that's just about an hour from the start of the Appalachian Trail. And so I flew in a couple days ago from Maine, and hanging out here where my wife is.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so you're off the trail and you get to recover for a while and then you'll head back. Very good.
Yeah.
Um, so you said you're doing this for charity for the Ronald McDonald House. What made you choose the Ronald McDonald House?
Well, I've been raising money for them close to 30 years with car shows that we do in the Jacksonville, Florida area. We do two a year, one was April 15th this year, and the other scheduled for October 7th. So that was kind of my window to get out and hike the trail. But I believe in their mission. You know, they help families with critically ill children and give them a place to stay near the hospital when they need treatments. And it's just such a good program that I've believed in it for a number of years. We had a son that was diagnosed as a diabetic at the age of 7, and we spent many nights sleeping in chairs next to his bed in the hospital many years. And so there weren't Ronald McDonald houses around back in those days. And I just believe that it's a really good cause, and have seen all the work that they've done for other people in Jacksonville.
All right, well, that's great. And then what made you decide to do the trail? Is this your first time like through hiking?
Yeah, it is. I'd been on the trail in 8 out of 14 states previously, just like day hikes when my wife and I had been traveling, and really enjoyed many of the day hikes. I went to my 50th class reunion last October, and they brought out some things that from previous reunions where we had written little biographies of what we were doing and what we hoped to do, and those kind of things. And I realized at the 40th that I had written at the end of my bio, anybody want to hike the Appalachian Trail, I'm ready to go. So it had been 10 years since I wrote that, and I just went home and decided I'm not waiting any longer. I'm just going to go and do it. So
All right,
I
that's
told my
awesome.
wife, yeah, I told my wife that, and she said, okay, kind of whatever. Like, and then basically, I also told and committed to the Ronald McDonald House to really make a good commitment, and they were interested and have been helping me with parts of the social media aspect.
Okay, very cool. Well, yeah, that's I guess you can't just wait around for somebody to join you, and at some point when you realize it, you just got to say, okay, I just got to do it, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, why, 10 years is a long time to
Yeah.
be thinking about it without really going. And I'm 69 years old, so
Well, that's
the
good.
time is
That's great.
getting shorter,
Yeah.
to have that opportunity.
But that's great that you're getting out there and staying active and, being on the mountains. That must be, I mean, I'm sure it's a really good challenge no matter what time of life you're at. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's been fun. I've met some really great people. I've had different groups to hike with, just based on different speeds or the fact that I was trying not to take many days off. So when they took days off, I seemed to get and catch up to a lot of them. And then they passed me on the trail because most of them are younger.
Yeah.
Than I am. But yeah, that part's been a lot of fun, meeting the people and finding out, their stories of why they're doing it, and their commitment to finishing as well.
Yeah. And what's been one of the like most positive aspects of your experience so far?
I think again, the people. It seems like all of those that are out there hiking, whether they're just day hikers or section hikers or weekend hikers, or whether they're going all the way as a through hiker, they all seem very positive about the experience and enjoying the trail, and just having fun and meeting great people. The support for hikers is tremendous. I mean, there's been times where I've been offered rides before I even stuck my thumb out to hitchhike,
Uh-huh.
into town to get supplies or things like that. One fella spent numerous hours with me that day, and turns out we had a lot in common when we talked. But he just stopped. He saw me sitting. I was on the phone trying to arrange a time to meet up with another brother-in-law that was going to hike with me. And he says, "Do you need a ride?" And I said, "I won't turn one down." So he took me to get new shoes and get groceries that day. And then even showed me around his part of the mountain, and then took me back to the trail so I could get going again. those kind of people are just really great, and there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, I imagine it's easier to connect with people because you're all kind of doing the same thing, or you're all in. I mean, there's different, like you said, there's different types of hikers, but you're all out there in the same place, and it's got to be a nice way to connect with people.
Yeah.
Um, and so you plan on finishing. You plan on going back to the Whites in probably what, a few weeks?
Yeah, probably 2 to 3 weeks at this point is what I'm thinking. And I've got 944 miles to go. So I've done about 1250. So I'm more than halfway, and everybody says, well, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of uphill still to go. But I am excited about the fact that I have some of the more difficult parts like Mount Katahdin and the 100-mile wilderness out of the way. So the Whites and then Rocky, Pennsylvania, those are some of the things we hear about on the trail where other people have experienced, more significant challenges to climbing and overcoming.
Okay. And speaking of challenges, you mentioned your age. Like how challenging has it been for you? And if especially if you think about when you first started hiking until, right before your injury, did you feel like you improved a lot, your fitness, and was it getting easier or
Yeah, it has gotten easier for the most part. Early on, I was doing like 8 to 10 miles for the first week or so, and gradually increased. I found that my lung capacity adapted. I'm from Florida, so it's hard to train at an elevation of 11 or 12 feet and get ready for going up over 6,000 feet. So that got better as I hiked. I've always been an athlete and tried to stay somewhat fit, but I went out and gained 10 pounds on purpose for before I started hiking because I knew I was going to lose in the range of 20, 25. And I think if the scales are mostly accurate where I weighed at hostels and things like that, I lost about 28 pounds. So got pretty thin and just can't seem to eat enough calories. The one thing I've noticed though is that the weight of my pack um, isn't as significant as it was early on. So I've adjusted to that. And my pack is somewhere around 20, 25 to 30 pounds, depending on how much food and water I'm carrying. So,
all right, so yeah, you mentioned calories. Obviously, you're burning a lot every day. What are some tricks you're using to like keep your calories high?
well, one of the things I've done is flavored my water.
Okay.
um, I that way it's more appealing. It may be trying to trick my brain, but um, I need to drink a lot. Um, I do carry a lot of snacks. When I find trail mix, I don't think they have enough M&Ms in them, so I buy a package of M&Ms and pour it into my trail mix.
All right.
Um, a lot of peanut butter. There are some dehydrated meals and those kind of things that I've had some of those, but I'm actually not cooking. I don't usually cook at home, so I didn't think I'd cook much on the trail either. But I have had some people help me heat up water to add to some of the dehydrated meals that you can get for that.
Okay, so that's nice. You're saving a little bit of weight by not having a cook stove or whatever, a little stove.
Right.
Um, and are you camping much? Are you traveling with a tent, or are you staying mostly in hostels?
I do have a tent. My initial plan was to tent mostly, but I'm an early riser, and I found that staying in shelters works pretty good for me. It's easier not to have to pack up the tent in the morning and kind of sneak out as soon. Up in Maine, it gets daylight at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and so oftentimes was hiking by 5 and trying to get mileage in by noon. If you can get 10 to 12 miles in by noon, you can rest up for the afternoon and do pretty much what you want in the afternoon and still make it to a campsite and get some good miles in. The most I ever hiked in one day so far was in the range of 28 miles. And it was kind of by accident. I was planning on a 20-mile day and got to a point where uh, they had marked the trail closed for camping because of aggressive bear activity. So I thought I was going to camp at about 20 miles, and they said the next 8 to 9 miles is closed for camping, and so I had to go on even farther that day, and ended up at a little over 28 miles for the day.
Oh, that's a pretty long day. How did you feel after that?
Yeah, I was really tired.
Yeah.
I lucked out and met a couple on the trail that evening that were just doing a short evening hike, and they said, "Well, we'll give you a ride into town if you'd like, because there's a hostel and a campground there, and you can pick." So they said, "Just meet us at the parking lot after you get out of the woods and cross a bridge over the river and all that." They said, "Our car's there, and we'll meet you there when we're done hiking and drop you off wherever you'd like." So that worked out pretty nice.
All right. Well, yeah, glad to hear. Well, it's been great hearing from you. Is there anything else you want to tell us about either the Ronald McDonald Foundation or about your experience on the trail, or any tips or tricks, or
Yeah,
any for anybody who's thinking about maybe doing it?
I can tell two more stories. One
Okay.
is a bear story. I've always liked and enjoyed bears and seen them from a distance, but I decided to what they call stealth camp one night and found a little site just off the trail, and it was maybe a 12-foot diameter that had been cut out of the weeds and those kind of things. And pitched my tent and got in my sleeping bag, and I always take a one of my hiking sticks had a big wooden knob on the end of it, and I take that into my tent with me whenever. I had done my bear hang properly that night and everything, and I heard a little bit of rustling in the gravel outside, and thought about it for a second, thinking somebody might be wanting to camp with me, and I didn't hear any voices or talking or anything. And what I did hear was some snorts and huffing, and so I realized there was a bear right outside my tent, and I grabbed that hiking pole and waited till he got up sniffing pretty close down to the foot end of my tent, and I gave a whack to the tent, which connected with his face or head, and he took off running through the woods. I could hear him. When black bears get frightened, they'll huff and snort, and they chomp their mouths and give a huff, and he did that about 6 times as he was running off through the woods. I never saw him again, which was good.
Wow,
um,
that's about as close of an encounter as you want to get, huh?
yeah, I'm not sure why he was sniffing the tent. I didn't have food in there or anything, but it worked out. And actually, I saw about a half mile down the trail where um, probably the same bear had chewed up a log that night and getting grubs and worms or bugs that are in a rotted out log. It had shredded that pretty much on the trail. Um, the other thing I thought I'd share with you is just my Facebook page is called Hiking. Ouch. Ow. Wow. I just got bit by a bug.
Was that a bee?
Fly.
Did you get stung?
I don't know if there's bees out. Yes. Man. Ow. Jeez. Ow. Ow. Wow. I
Are
just
you all
had
right?
yellow jackets or something buzzing me. Oh man. Sorry.
That's all right. Are you okay? Did you get
I
like
think so. I'd heard something buzzing and they were buzzing my head, and I probably got stung about 4 or 5 times. Just the
wow.
yellow jackets out there. Whoa.
Wow, that's
Once
crazy.
here on the ear, once right on the nose.
Yeah.
Man, so you get off the trail and you still get
Yeah.
Get the insects and everything. Uh, I'm inside,
All right.
um, out of the way.
All right. So
Looks
you're
like right
saying
there.
you're saying your website or something?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. On Facebook, I have a page called Hiking for the House,
Okay.
and it has a connection to where people can actually donate. But I've also challenged other hikers out on the trail. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are accomplishing the same things I am. You know, they've gone 1,200 miles, or they plan on finishing, and those kind of things. So their family and friends can also donate and attribute to them by donating, you know, their achievements and recognize them as well. So a lot of good hikers out there.
All right. Well, sounds good. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, and I'll put a link to that in the description. So go ahead if you're watching this, go ahead and donate if you feel inclined. All right. Well, Lon, well, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate talking with you, and I'm happy for what you're doing, and glad to see you're doing well. Hope you recover from those bee stings and from those ankle injuries, and get some rest for a little while, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Super, thanks. And maybe we can touch base again when I'm back on the trail.
All right, yeah, sounds good. All right, well,
All
yeah,
right.
let me know when you're back on the trail or when you're finished.
Okay, sounds great. Thank
All
you.
right, sounds good, Lon. Take care.
Bye bye.